Hey, it's Tyler from Rehab to Fab Designs, and we are on episode 9 of our DIY home renovation up at the Clayton Cottage in the North Georgia mountains. In our previous episode, we hung wallpaper here in the hallway. The paint and wallpaper alone took this hallway from a dark and dreary space to a very bright and airy spot. For the paint colors, we used Sherwin-Williams in a color called Drift of Mist on all the walls, and our trim was done in extra white. As you can see in the photos here, the paint alone made a huge difference in what this hallway looked like. On my previous episode of this mountain cottage makeover, you can see a video on how I applied the wallpaper that you see here with honest opinions on what I thought about this product. Now that we have all the paper up, it's time to proceed with some wainscoting.
Y'all, I am so excited. My paper that I worked very hard on to draw out my plans for my wall measured perfectly. Can't believe it. Something actually went my way. So I had measured it up. I measured the distance from the wall to the door, and then I took into account the size of my boards, how wide they actually are, not the size that you're purchasing, because we're putting up 1x3s here, but they're really 2.5 inches wide. So I added up for my 2.5 inches, my 2.5 inches, my 2.5, and I split the difference between the doorways. That way it would line up perfectly. So I have 7.5 inches from one wall, then 15 inches in between boards, 15 inches in between boards, and it came up to be exactly 7.5 inches to the next doorway. So it lined up perfect. So I'll show you kind of what we did to mark it. So I started, actually, let me come over here. I started over here and I had figured it up 7.5 inches from the wall. So I measured 7.5, then I made a mark, then another mark 2.5 inches from that. That's going to be my board, indicated by the B that I wrote sideways. Then I have 15 inches to the next board, and then 2.5 inches for a board there. 15 inches to the next one. Made my first mark, second mark for my board, indicated with a B, and then so my husband knows to put my boards straight up and down right there. It'll actually be a little lower because we're going to have a 1x2 sitting on its side first, and then a 1x4 flipped flat here, then the actual vertical boards for the wainscoting. Now I have to do the same thing on this side, and of course the doorway is in a completely different place, and also we got a light fixture here to worry about, but I have got to figure it up first and see if my measurements come out perfect again. Fingers crossed, hopefully it works.
We did the same thing on this side of the wall, marking as we went where our boards would be. Next, we used our stud finder to go down the wall and mark where our studs would be so we'd know where to place our vertical boards. We used a total of 3 different boards for our wainscoting. We used a 1x2 flipped on its side for the top rail, a 1x4 laid flat for the backing, and then 1x3s to put up vertically for those boards. Once we cut the 1x4 to the length we needed, we applied our liquid nails on the back and simply pressed it into place at our indicated markings that we marked previously at our wallpaper line. Make sure when doing this you use your level so that you can make sure all your boards are straight and level on the wall. Once we had our board in place using our liquid nails, we're going to use our Ryobi Airstrike gun and a 1.5 inch nail to nail it to the wall. Once our 1x4 was secured to the wall, we used our caulk gun to apply caulk behind it to get a nice tight seal. Next up, for our layered wainscoting look, we're going to use a 1x2 to flip it on its side and sit it on top of the 1x4 to act as like a chair rail. Apply your liquid nails to the back of it to get it ready, and then we're going to set it right on top of the 1x4. Once in place, you're going to use your Ryobi Airstrike again to nail the top board, the 1x2, into place over top of the 1x4. We continued the same process of applying our 1x4 and then our 1x2 all the way around the walls. When we got to an area where the level wouldn't fit between the wall and the door frame, we used our foam to make sure it was level. Once we got on this side of the door frame, we had to go ahead and put the outlet cover over the outlet first to make sure that we had room for it. And I mostly just posted this video to prove that I do actually do work, because I feel like all my videos are showing my husband working while I'm standing back watching, but I assure you I do my half of the work. I just also happen to be the only one who does all the recording for social media.
He covered up my marks on the wall for my vertical wainscoting, so he's having to redo them. Now I'm going to use painter's putty to come back in and fill the little holes where the nail gun made holes, where we put the top trim up, and then we'll paint.
Using my putty knife, I picked up a small amount of product on the corner of it and rubbed it directly into each hole that we made using the nail gun. Be sure and wipe off any excess around the exterior of the nail hole. That way you don't have as much to sand off or rub off later. Lastly, it is time for our vertical board. So we're going to go ahead and prep the back of all of these 1x3s with our liquid nail product, and then hold them into place where we marked them previously, and then we're going to use our level to make sure that we have them nice and straight, and then we're going to go ahead and use the Ryobi Airstrike again to nail them into place. The last thing we did was come down the side of each and every board that we put up to get a nice seal using our caulk gun, and that's it. Here it is, same old hallway, brand new look with some new wallpaper and some wainscoting with new paint and trim. What do you guys think? I think it's looking fabulous and brightens it up and makes it so much more modern and cute. Be sure and follow along with us here on our YouTube channel to watch all the videos of this complete cottage makeover. Thanks for watching.